Hi, my name is Cameron, and I'm 25 years old. I'm going to tell you my story about how I went from an orphan to being adopted by a big family, and finally becoming a stepdad, and a lot of other things. It's kind of crazy, honestly, how I'm even at high school at this age. But let me make everything clear for you first. So, basically, my mom and dad died in a car accident when I was around 3 years old. I don't even have many memories of them except for the fact that we were a pretty isolated family. This brings me to my next point. Apparently, there weren't any relatives that my mom or dad kept in touch with. When the authorities tracked down a few of my distant relatives, they refused to look after me, because no one wanted a 3-year-old child to increase their burden. And my parents had left no will. So I was sent to an orphanage because there was no other option for me. Growing up in the orphanage was a pretty rough experience. Actually, who am I kidding? It was more than pretty rough. It was the worst thing ever. I was looked down upon by the other kids because, according to them, I was a strange guy. Just because I refused to do as they wanted. Refused to be a pushover. They took it upon themselves to make my life a living nightmare. Our caretaker was indifferent. He didn't even bother with what was going on. His negligent attitude gave the kids a free rein to do whatever they wanted. A sort of hierarchy was established in the orphanage. The older and the stronger kids had united against the weaker, younger ones. They would order us around to do all their work, to bring them food, to wash their clothes, and do the dishes after every meal. And when some of us refused, we were in for torture. They literally didn't let me sleep at night. They would shove me around all day, make me trip, and would always mess with my stuff. It was all too much to take in. I couldn't focus on my schoolwork because of them. Sometimes they even tore apart or messed up my notes and textbooks. The caretaker turned a blind eye to everything, and the situation only got worse day by day. I desperately wished that someone would come and adopt me, but my chances were slim. Most families only adopted infants and babies. I was 15 years old by then, and none of the adopted families even gave me a second glance. One day, I was in the backyard, sulking about everything that was wrong with my life. A little girl came up to me with a ball in her hands. She seemed to be about 5 years old. I was about to ask her who she was when 5 more girls who looked exactly like her walked up to me from the back door. I stood up in shock. What was going on? A lady, who was undoubtedly their mother, if the similar feature were to go by, walked out next and gave me a smile. "My daughters seem to really like you. Would you like to become their brother?" I was speechless. I was not expecting this all of a sudden. I could have cried out of joy then and there. Okay, fine, I'll admit, I did cry. But how could I not? Finally, I was seeing hope for a better life and a brighter future, something I had given up on. I didn't waste any time in nodding and giving my consent. After a lot of paperwork and some other processes which happened over the next few days, I was finally in a car, going home with my adoptive family. "So, your name is Cameron, right?" the lady asked. Actually, wait, should I call her Mom? But she seemed so young. It felt like she was in her early 20s. It would be weird to call her Mom. But then, what else could I call her? Lady? I snorted at my thoughts. "Happy," she commented with a smile. "Oh, sorry," I immediately rushed. "As for your question, yes, I am Cameron." She gave me another smile. "It's okay, Cameron. You don't have to be so nervous and careful around me. We're a family now. I'm Jessica." I scratched my head. What should I call you?" She let out a laugh. "Just call me Jessica. I'm not much older than you. You can consider me as your friend. And I guess you have already met my daughters." I nodded. "There are 5 of them, right?" "Yes, they are quintuplets," Jessica replied fondly. "They are only 5 years old, but they are a little troublemakers. I'm warning you in advance." At this point, anything was better than that crappy orphanage life. I certainly didn't mind 5 little girls. "What about their dad?" I asked hesitantly. Jessica pursed her lips. "He's not in the picture. I'm a single mom." "Oh, okay," I said in an apologetic tone. "Sorry if I asked the wrong question." Jessica patted my back, giving me an assuring smile. "You don't have to be so stiff around me, Cameron. As I said, we are a family now. You can ask me anything. It's your right. I instantly relaxed. I was just so grateful for Jessica. It already seemed like my life was going in a better direction now. Jessica got me enrolled in a private school, and soon I came to realize that I was now living with a super rich family. I mean, they practically lived in a mansion. It seemed like Jessica had inherited a lot of money and property from her parents. I had never seen so much comfort in my life. I had a big room of my own and my own walk-in closet. We even went shopping and bought a lot of expensive clothes and shoes. In the beginning, I was a bit hesitant about spending money like this. It still felt like I didn't deserve any of this, and I shouldn't spend Jessica's money unnecessarily. But Jessica had insisted that I could buy anything I wanted. "This is all for you, Cameron," she had said, patting my head. "I don't want you to hold yourself back from anything." To be honest, I didn't care about money that much. I mean, yes, it was one part of my now improved lifestyle, but I was overall happy that I had a family now. A family that loved me and cared about my well-being. It felt nice to be an elder brother, and let my sisters occupy most of my time. Jessica was not wrong when she said that they were little troublemakers. They would run around the house all day, throwing stuff around and sometimes even breaking some of them. That's why most of the dangerous and expensive items were kept out of their reach. I don't know how it happened, but I took it upon myself to look after them. I practically used to babysit them after getting home from school. I had no idea how Jessica took care of them as a single mom, because, trust me, they were a lot to handle. But still, they were fun, and I loved spending time with them. "Cameron," Jessica started one day at the dinner table, "you spend all your time with these girls. What about your homework and studies?" "I complete them before sleeping," I lied. The truth was that I didn't like studying. I know this was a bad thing, but when I was in the orphanage, I used to complain about getting distracted from my studies because of those other kids. And now that I had all the resources, I realized that I was never interested in academics in the first place. I tried a lot to concentrate and to get my head into it, but it was too difficult for me. I was more of a sports person. I liked playing basketball and spending time in extracurricular activities. Academics was not my cup of tea. But of course, I couldn't tell any of this to Jessica. She was doing so much for me. And I guess she also had some expectations from me. So I didn't have the heart to disappoint her. I just used to mug up the important concepts before the day of exam and managed to get passing grades. The first time I showed my report card to Jessica, she seemed to be in shock. I felt really embarrassed. "I'm sorry," I said, not being able to meet her eyes. She was definitely disappointed in me. I had taken her kindness for granted. "Cameron," she placed a hand on my shoulder, "you don't have to be sorry. It's okay, everyone doesn't have to be a topper. I just want you to give your best and not worry about anything else. I'm afraid that much of your time is taken up by the girls and you can't focus on your studies." "No," I said immediately. "I like spending time with them. I'm not interested in academics. I like basketball more." "Is that so?" Jessica asked with a smile. "You should have told me sooner. I'll enroll you in a sports academy so that you can pursue what you like." "Thank you," I said sincerely. This was all so much more than I had ever asked for. I still couldn't believe sometimes that I had gotten so lucky. A few years passed like this, and I was having the best time of my life. I was 22 now, and in college simultaneously training for basketball. My skills had improved over the years, and I was the captain of my college team. I couldn't help but feel relieved every time I saw the proud smile on Jessica's face when she came to watch my matches. During one such match, I went to talk to her before the match started. She hugged me and wished me a good luck. "Cameron, who is that, your girlfriend?" a girl from my class, who was standing beside us, suddenly asked. My eyes widened while Jessica just laughed. What was I supposed to say? Mom was not the right term to describe Jessica, and to be honest, everyone would laugh if I said she was my mom. She didn't look a day older than 20. I swear she was aging backwards. "Do I look young enough to pass as his girlfriend?" Jessica asked the girl, good-naturedly. "Well, duh. You look like a college student to me," the girl replied. I glanced at Jessica, and for the first time in my life, I realized how gorgeous she was. I shook my head to get rid of my thoughts. No, I shouldn't be thinking about Jessica like that. I met her eyes to find her already looking at me with an undecipherable look. Oh no, did she catch me staring? I quickly took my leave and went towards the court to meet my teammates. When I went home with Jessica after the match that day, there was an awkward silence between us in the car. Something had definitely changed between us, and I had no idea how or why. Jessica cleared her throat. Cameron, do you mind if I ask you a personal question? No, of course not, I replied quickly. Do you have a girlfriend? No, I have never dated anyone, I said. I had received my fair share of proposals, but I had rejected them because I was not interested. But now that I thought about it clearly, maybe it was because I already liked someone. Someone with whom I was in a very complicated relationship. Yep, I'm talking about Jessica. What even was she to me? Not my mother figure for sure. As I have said earlier, she was like a good friend, and I admired her a lot. She was always there for me whenever I faced any problem, and she always motivated and pushed to do my best. Somewhere along the line, I had fallen for her, and I didn't even realize it. It was only today when that girl asked me the question. I realized that I'd started liking Jessica as someone more than a friend. Jessica, about what the girl said today, I trailed off. Don't worry, I don't mind, she said. It was flattering to see that she seemed to take me for a college student. But the part about being my girlfriend, I said, it made me realize that I like you. And I'm not talking about platonic feelings here. There, I said it. It's better to be straightforward than beat around the bush and suffer. Jessica was quiet for a moment before she admitted that she liked me, too. I did a double take. I was expecting a lecture or rejection. Not this. Well, that settled it then. Jessica and I liked each other, so there was nothing to worry about anymore. We couldn't care less about what people would think. My feelings and my happiness were the top priority for me. And I told the same thing to Jessica, who was a bit hesitant in going out with me at first. Thus, we started dating. A few more years passed, and by the time I was 25 and looking for a job, Jessica and I started to plan our wedding. The quintuples were aware of our relationship, and they were okay with it. They were 15 now and in high school. They had become mature, and of course didn't cause trouble anymore. I had no idea at the time about what was going on in the head of one of them. One night, when I was almost on the verge of falling asleep, the door to my bedroom creaked open, and I sat up in shock. I squinted in the dark to make out who it was. It was Eddie, one of the quintuplets. I switched on the lights and watched her walking towards me with half-closed eyes. Was she sleepwalking? I called her a name a few times, but she didn't answer. Yep, she was definitely sleepwalking. She sat on my bed and muttered something. I shifted closer to listen to what she was saying. I was in for a big shock. I retreated away from her when I made out her words. She was saying that she had a crush on me and didn't want me to marry Jessica. Could it be that she was just mumbling things in her sleep? Whatever it was, I had to resolve this issue. I shook her shoulders, jolting her out of her sleep. She blinked, staring at me wide-eyed. What happened? She stuttered, looking around. Eddie, is it true that you have a crush on me? I asked her. And that you don't want me to marry your mother? Her cheeks flushed. I do have a crush, but not on you. There's a guy in my class whose name is Cameron, too. I kinda like him. It's just that every time I hear your name, it reminds me of him. I exhaled in relief. That's cute. I hope things work out between Cameron and you. And what about the part where you were talking about me not marrying your mother? Eddie looked down at her lap. I don't know. I see you as an older brother. I can't imagine calling you Dad. I mean, you are like a father and everything because you take care of us, but what will happen once you marry Mom? I'm afraid you'll grow distant and become strict. What if... I let out a laugh, cutting off her mid-speech. Eddie, I understand where you're coming from, but trust me, I will remain the same even after marrying your mom. Nothing is going to change. I won't grow distant or become strict. And you don't have to call me Dad, just call me Cameron, like you do now. Understood?" She nodded happily and hugged me. Soon after that incident, Jessica and I got married in a private ceremony. Everything went smoothly, and all of us were happy about how things had turned out. A few days after the wedding, though, a new problem arose. The Quintuplets, aka the girls who were my official daughters now, needed my help with their studies. Jessica had a job, so she wasn't at home most of the time, and I used to look after the girls. So when they asked me to help with their homework, I couldn't refuse. But one look at that textbook, and I regretted not paying attention in my high school classes. I couldn't understand a simple thing, and they had so many doubts. "Why is math so hard? Can you turn to me every day? I want to score good grades," one of them asked. "Me too. I need help with physics," another one said. "The teacher at my school doesn't even make sense." The others also wanted me to tutor them. In short, I was doomed. "We can just hire a tutor for them," Jessica said next morning. "No need to beat yourself up over it." "No," I quickly denied. "I don't want them to think that I'm good for nothing. I don't want to become a failure in their eyes. I've decided that I will restart high school and help them with their studies, no matter what." Jessica protested at first, but finally gave in after I persuaded her. I didn't waste any time in enrolling at a high school once again. Of course, it was a different school than the one where the Quintuplets went to. I didn't want them to find out my plan or get embarrassed on my behalf. I thought high school would be easier for me now, since I was older and my brain had matured. But I was wrong. It was still as difficult, and the fact that I had to study with kids who were 10 years younger to me and who liked to make fun of me didn't help at all. Even the teachers were stereotyped. "Why did you join high school when you should be doing a job? Were you one of those kids who didn't pay attention in class and always failed? How can you be so shameless and show up at a school every day? Wow, you've got guts, man. I'd be so embarrassed if I was in your place. You're as old as me and you're still a student here?" These were some of the common things that the teachers used to say to me. And don't even get me started on the students. They had given me the nickname Grandpa and had ostracized me. I mean, I was not exactly dying to hang out with a bunch of 15-year-olds, but could they at least pretend to be nice? But whatever. I was here to get my concepts straight, not to bother with these useless comments. But one person in particular was making this too hard for me. A teacher, to be exact. Well, she was a weird one. Despite knowing that I was married, she tried to hit on me. First of all, I was her student, and she was doing the wrong thing. And secondly, I was married! When I rejected her, she became bitter about it. She started calling me out in class to answer questions from the chapters that she hadn't even taught beforehand. Of course, this was all to humiliate me. "Shame on you, Cameron," she would say in front of the whole class. "You can't answer such simple questions. How old are you again? These 15-year-olds can perform better than you." This went on every day. I ignored her in the beginning, but she started employing childish tricks. She started using the other students to humiliate me. Someone superglued me to my chair once, and I guess you can imagine what happened after. I became a laughingstock that day, and that darn teacher was smirking, giving me a knowing look. I knew without a doubt that was her doing. Her dirty tricks didn't stop there. I used to find disgusting notes written on my locker every day. And one day, she brought up the Quintuplets while humiliating me in the classroom. "I bet your daughters are just like you, Cameron," she said. "They probably flunk all their subjects." She went on saying things about them while everyone laughed. I had had enough now. I decided to teach this arrogant teacher a lesson. Of course, I was not going to stoop to her level and use disgusting and childish tricks to do that. I had a better way of humiliating her. I did some hard work for a few weeks and studied ahead of the class, understanding all the concepts on my own. Then I did some advanced research on the topics too. Now, when I attended the classes, I used to cross-question her with complex questions during the lessons. Of course, she wasn't able to answer even a single question of mine. No one cared for the first few days, but when this repeated in every class, and she started making excuses, everyone noticed. They started doubting her knowledge and skills. I heard that someone had even complained to the principal about how lacking she was as a teacher. Well, my job was done. She stopped bothering me. She now knew the price of messing with me. Meanwhile, I helped the quintuplets with their studies. Every day, and eventually they started getting a grasp of the concepts. I was the proudest person when they scored good grades in their tests. I graduated high school for a second time, a few years later, and this time, I had graduated with the highest marks in my classes. It was the most satisfactory thing for me. I'm glad that I didn't let society's norms and thoughts bother me, and did what I wanted to do. So this was the story of how I became a stepdad, brother, tutor, as well as a high school student at age 25. What do you think about my story? Do you think that I made the right choices along the way? Or did I do something wrong at any point? Hey guys, it's me, Cameron. A while ago, I shared my story with you all where I told you about how I married Jessica, the woman who had adopted me. If you remember, Jessica had quintuplets, who were now technically my daughters too. Well, my story had ended up on a happy note then, but something unfortunate had happened with me later, and I couldn't tell it then. But I am finally ready to share it with you all. Before I tell you what happened, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel to show your support to me. So, let's jump into my story now. So, a few years passed, and the quintuplets were now in college. Jessica was busy with her job as always, and I was tutoring high school students now, since I had gained a lot of experience after tutoring my daughters. Anyway, everything was going smoothly for us, and we were a happy family. Until my past started chasing me again. I'm talking about the high school teacher who had humiliated me when I went to high school again, and also tried to hit on me. Her name was Jenny, and as I told you in my last video, I had gotten rid of her by outsmarting her, but I had no idea that she was holding a grudge against me all this time. She was literally plotting all these years to get back at me for what had happened back then. At first, I had no idea about anything, but slowly things started becoming clear, and I realized what was actually happening. So, as I told you, my daughters were in college now. And not so coincidentally, Jenny was now a professor in the same college. Allow me to make a personal comment here. Who the heck made her a professor? Last I checked, she wasn't even apt to be a high school teacher. Then what exactly did she do to get promoted like this? But, oh well, that's something that was not in my control. Maybe she studied and worked hard or something, but that was quite doubtful. Because she clearly still lacked brain cells, judging by how she was started employing petty tricks to ruin my life. She started turning my daughters against me. Yes, that's right. She actually went to that length. It started out slowly. My daughters would come home and ask me questions related to their courses. I did everything I could to help them, but somehow it backfired. You think you're very intelligent, right, Dad? Eddie, one of my daughters, asked one day. Wait, I never said that, I replied in shock. Where is that coming from? You are super arrogant and it shows, she said, slamming her book on the table. Eddie, I exclaimed. Is that a way to talk to your dad? Please, she snorted. You are not even our dad. You're an orphan who made his way into our house by trapping our mom. I was speechless. Eddie had never talked to me like that before. What happened all of a sudden? At that time, I had no idea about Jenny. Eddie, did something happen in your college? Did someone say something to you? I asked calmly. So now you're trying to look for a way to shift the blame on someone else? She shook her head. Professor Jenny was right. You are nothing but a manipulative, gold-digging liar. I stumbled back from immense shock and hurt. My daughter was calling me names for no reason at all. And Jenny? Her name instantly brought back memories from my past. Who is this Jenny you were talking about? I asked Eddie. The one whose life you ruined single-handedly, she replied. What? Don't pretend to be oblivious, Dad, Eddie sneered. Jenny has told me everything. A few years ago when you started tutoring us, you joined high school behind our backs, and there, Jenny was your teacher. Just because you didn't like her, you tarnished her reputation, and she had no option but to resign later because of you. Her life had been miserable all this time, but she proved her worth with her hard work, and now, look, she's at a better position than you. Eddie, you got it all wrong, I started. She was the one who started it. She used to hit on me, and when I turned her down, she got resentful. She started humiliating me all the time, and I was fine with it because I didn't want drama, but one day, she said things about you all. I couldn't let it go after that, so that is why I just did some advanced research and cross-questioned her in class. It was her inefficiency that led her to resign. I'm happy that she worked hard and is at a better place now. Please, Eddie snapped. You don't have the right to act all high and mighty now. You don't even do anything, Dad. All our wealth is because of Mom and her job. You didn't even used to work, and now, too, you just tutor 1 or 2 kids and then laze around all day. I sighed. There was no use of arguing with Eddie now. It looked like Jenny had completely turned her against me. What did she even want after all these years? Couldn't we just live our lives peacefully now? Ugh, this was all so immature and childish. But the thing was that Eddie was not the only one Jenny had influenced. She had managed to turn all of my daughters against me. All of them accused me of this and that. In the end, I decided to pay a visit to Jenny. I contacted her on Facebook, and she gave me her address too willingly, asking me to come on Sunday. When she opened the door for me, she embraced me in a tight hug as if we were very good friends. I broke from the hug and shot her a glare. What are you trying to do, Jenny? Oh my, she gasped dramatically. You show up after so many days and greet me with that attitude? Come on now, Cameron, you're better than this. Let's go inside first, yeah? I inhaled a deep breath and followed her inside her house. She made me sit on the sofa and went to get some snacks for me. Cut the formality, I said when she returned back. I'm here to talk about something important. Ah, she snapped her fingers. I had the chance to meet your beautiful daughters. Man, I was right a few years ago. They are as dumb as you. It's so easy to convince them about anything. They trust me blindly, you know. Are you for real? I yelled, standing up. How dare you even go near my daughters? Calm down now, Cameron. She walked towards me and placed a hand on my shoulder. This anger doesn't suit your handsome face. Get off! I tried to remove her hands, but she started leaning towards me, taking me by complete surprise. I averted my face right in time before she could kiss me. She backed away, laughing crazily. Did you think I was going to kiss you? I may have a thing for you, but I have my pride, Cameron. Look, I just came here to give you a warning, I said. Stay away from my daughters, or I'll be forced to take drastic steps. I walked away after that. She was seriously insane. She was definitely up to something, but I didn't know what, and I was not sure I wanted to know. Her behavior just now scared the heck out of me. After that day, everything started returning back to normal, and I almost started believing that Jenny had got the message and had finally backed off. When one day, tragedy struck. Jessica came back home, crying, startling me. What happened, Jessica? Why are you crying? I rushed to her. She gave me a look that she had never given me before. The look of anger and bitterness. You freaking cheater! She yelled. I trusted you with everything. This is how you paid me back? I completely froze for a second. Then I approached her cautiously. What are you talking about? Can you please explain? Here! She shoved her phone to my face. Watch this video that your beloved Jenny sent me. I clicked play with shaky fingers. It was the video from the time I had visited Jenny. She had recorded everything secretly. There was no audio, but it clearly looked like I was getting close to Jenny. And the time when she was about to kiss me was captured from such an angle that it looked like we had actually made out. In conclusion, it seemed like I was having an affair with Jessica. And it was so not true. Now I understood why Jenny had me over. Jessica, listen, this is wrong, I said quickly. We didn't kiss. So are you saying that I am blind? She retorted. Are you seriously trying to negate what's in front of us right now? I had never felt so desperate in my life. I know what this looks like, but trust me. Tad, stop! Eddie's voice cut me off. We've had enough. I turned around to see that my daughters were standing in front of us, shooting me glares. So, they had received the video as well. Great. What a beautiful life. Get out! Jessica roared. I don't want to see your face. Get out of my house! I had no way to prove my innocence. They were not going to believe me. This was what Jenny had been planning all along. She slowly instigated my daughters against me, so that they won't believe me at such a crucial moment. And then, she had played her trump card and cleverly recorded such a video. It was my fault for trusting her so easily and stepping inside her house. I should have realized her intentions when she gave me her address without any questions. I was kicked out of my house, and I couldn't say anything since Jessica was the owner. I was sitting by myself inside a park, wondering where I could go. At the end of the day, I was an orphan, and had no relatives who would take me in. I thought I would find you here. Jenny's voice traveled towards me, and I looked up to find her walking to me with a smile on her face. Oh, look at you. How pathetic. She feigned sympathy. Were you kicked out of the house? Oh no, it looks like it's going to rain soon. Would you like to come with me? I was about to swear at her and tell her to go away, when something clicked in my mind. Should I go with her and defeat her in her own game? Wasn't this a good opportunity for me to collect some proof against her? What do you think? It's not like I have anywhere else to go. I've already hit the rock bottom, so why not give it a shot?
Hey everyone, it's Cameron again. I am back with the next part of my story. I'm sorry to keep you waiting, but I needed to be calm and collected and sort out my thoughts before I could share my story again. I am thankful for all the support I have received. Please, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to continue showing your support to me. Anyway, so if you remember from the last video, after Jenny framed me for cheating, my wife and daughters kicked me out of the house. I had nowhere to go and was sitting in a park when Jenny approached me. She asked me to go with her. I was contemplating on what to do. Since I had nothing to lose now, I decided to go to her house and plan my next course of action from there. One thing was obvious, that despite everything, Jenny still had feelings for me. And she had ruined my life on purpose so that I would have no other choice but to move in with her. But I couldn't even stand the sight of her. She made me feel sick and gross. It had been a few days since I started living with her, and I was already going crazy. She always tried to flirt with me and get me to go out with her. But that would happen only over my dead body. The upside was that she was a professor, so she used to leave for college early and come back late. This gave me the much-needed time and space. After I'd cleared my mind, I decided to do something about the whole situation. First problem was Jenny, of course. She was the person who had ruined everything. I had to collect proof against her and establish my innocence in front of my family. It was going to be quite tricky, though. I needed her to confess everything from her own mouth so that I could record it. But how? One day when she left for college, I decided to search her room for anything that could help me. I found nothing. Except for one crucial clue. There was a file of all her educational certificates. From what I could see, she was clearly not qualified to be a professor at a college. I always had my doubts. She was dumb enough as a high school teacher, so how could she have become a professor? This only meant one thing. Someone was obviously backing her. I couldn't find anything else in her room, though. I took some pictures of her certificates and left her room. After that, I entered the study room. It was where she used to keep her spare laptop. I doubted I would find anything there, but it was still worth a shot. Luckily, it wasn't password protected, and I could easily access the folders. There was nothing unusual on the laptop, until I stumbled upon her picture gallery. I was staring back at my own pictures. She had a whole folder named after me, and there were more pictures of me in that folder than I had on my own phone. Wow. It seemed like she had been stalking me all these years and clicking random pictures for her collection. I barfed a little. How disgusting was she? I clicked on another folder titled Arnold. There were pictures of a middle-aged man, who I was guessing was Arnold. Not only that, there were many pictures of Jenny and Arnold together. They seemed rather intimate to me. This Arnold guy was definitely some important person, judging by his looks and personality. And not to mention the fact that Jenny was a big leech. She obviously saw some gain in him. I went through all the pictures carefully and finally found one which proved to be helpful. Arnold and Jenny were in a big office, and in the desk in front of them, I spotted Arnold's designation. He was the dean in the college where Jenny was teaching. Now I knew how Jenny got her job. Well, this just made things easier. Firstly, she was in relationship with the dean, yet she was shamelessly hitting on me. Secondly, she didn't have any merits for her job. All I had to do now was get her to confess on a camera, and send the recording to both Arnold and my wife Jessica. She would definitely lose her job too. It would be like hitting two birds with one stone. I spent a few days coming up with a plan. Meanwhile, I also went to her college secretly to make sure that my speculations about Arnold and her relationships were correct. I got my confirmation. But on my way out, I ran into my daughter, Eddie, who studied at the same college. "Eddie," I smiled at her. "It's been so long. How are you doing?" Eddie gave me the deadliest glare. "You cheater! What are you doing here? Are you stalking me? Just how low are you going to fall?" "Eddie, no! I was here for something else," I rushed to explain. I swear!" "Save it!" Eddie raised her hand. "I don't want to hear your lies. Just get out of my sight." All these days I had thought that I was okay. But now, after meeting Eddie, I knew that I was not. It hurt so much that the people I loved so much in this world dismissed me without a second thought. Had they ever considered me as their family? I was an orphan after all. I guess I got way too ahead of myself. I shook my head. Whatever. I still had to prove my innocence. I had not done anything wrong, and these people needed to know that. That night, when Jenny came back home, I asked her to go out on a date with me. "What? Are you playing a prank on me?" she asked in shock. No, I'm serious," I replied with a straight face. "I've decided to move on. It's not like my family is going to forgive me now. Now that I think about it, those daughters were a constant pain in my neck. I feel much more relaxed with only you. I want to give this a shot." Wow, I almost believed my own lie. And so did Jenny, if the smug expression on her face was anything to go by. She grabbed my hand and pulled me towards the door. "Let's go. I know a very good place where we can eat and have drinks afterwards," she said on the way. Drinks? That's exactly what I needed for my plan to be successful. She needed to be tipsy if I wanted to manipulate her into spilling the truth. After having dinner, I coaxed Jenny into drinking a lot. She couldn't refuse. And, as per my plan, she was not in her right senses anymore. I brought her home and made her sit on the couch, starting the camera discreetly. "Jenny, I had a lot of fun today, but I'd still like to ask you something," I began. "I don't understand. Why did you send that false recording to my family and framed me for cheating?" She laughed. "Come on, it wasn't false. Every bit was true. Except, it gave a totally different meaning without the audio." "Wow, I'm such a genius." "Yeah, you are," I nodded. "So much so that I don't even remember what actually happened that day." "Oh, you don't?" she slurred. "I was simply flirting with you and making you uncomfortable. But the camera captured it from an angle where it looked like you were flirting with me, too. But in reality, you were yelling at me. That's why I had to remove the audio. Though, look at us now. You've completely fallen for me now." "But, Jenny," I made a face, "I am a bit upset. I saw some photos of you and Arnold. Are you close with him? It seems like I'm not the one you like." Jenny's eyes widened in panic. "Oh crap, no! I should have told you about it. That man is my means to keep my job at college. He easily fell for my charms. I don't even like him. Not even one bit. I plan on using and discarding him. You see, I just have to get a recommendation letter from him, and then I'll quit my job there. Then both of us can move somewhere else and live happily. I also earned a lot of money thanks to him." "Ah, I see," I smiled. "Okay, I understand everything now. You should go to sleep. We will talk tomorrow." She passed out as soon as she closed her eyes. With one last disgusted look in her direction, I went to my room and immediately extracted the video. After double-checking everything, I sent the video to Jessica and Arnold, whose number I got from Jenny's phone. The next morning, Jessica was at Jenny's door, ringing the bell non-stop. Jenny opened the door, and I peered from behind her. "What are you doing here?" Jenny asked rudely. I'm here to see my husband," Jessica replied. "Are you crazy?" Jenny laughed. "You know he loves me, yet you still showed up here?" Jessica slapped Jenny without warning. "Cut the crap! No one is going to believe your lies now." Jessica barged inside the house and walked up to me. "Cameron, I'm so sorry. I should have never believed her. I put you through a lot. Please, come back home. I'll make it up to you." She placed a hand on my shoulder. I shook off her hand and backed away. "That's right. You put me through a lot. And no matter what you say, you did choose to believe her that time. It's sad that all those years of us as a family didn't foster any trust between us. I think we're not supposed to be together." Just then, another person appeared on the door. It was Arnold. Jenny looked like she had seen a ghost. Arnold yelled at her, then told her that she was fired. He then looked up to meet my eyes and gave me a thankful nod. Jenny ran after him, asking him what was wrong and blah blah blah. After they left, Jessica begged me to forgive her again. But I couldn't bring myself to do so. I knew that if something like this were to happen again, she would abandon me. I didn't know what to trust anymore. Moreover, I needed space. From everyone. I didn't want to make a wrong decision and let people walk all over me again. That's why I told Jessica to back off, and left Jenny's house.